welcome to an episode of Box Office Quarterbacks. Today, I just wanted to start it off because today is a big day for us. It's actually been 5 years since BOQB started as a thing at all. It was a brain baby Jeff and I had after leaving our first market, wanting to stick together and talk about stupid nerd shit. And we've come this far. We have more than 100 subscribers, which isn't a whole hell of a lot, but every one of you guys means the world to us. And we're just real glad to keep going and that you guys have followed us all the way from that poor little WordPress blog to an actual YouTube channel. But I'm actually going to take a step back like I did a few years ago, but I promise I'm not going for milk and cigarettes. I will be back this time. In fact, I'm going to be co-hosting / letting my friend Ahmed take over as the host for this one. This is a movie for him that he's been trying to get me to watch for a few months, and I didn't take the time until recently. Ahmed, go ahead and reintroduce yourself and in the movie.
Well, now that Gerald has finished talking, yes, happy birthday to Box Office QBs. I'm so honored to be part of the group. Great group and great group of guys. Gerald, means the world to me, and it's an honor. But I do have a bone to pick with him that he got his revenge from Everything Everywhere All at Once. He told us to watch it, we ignored him, and then we watched it. We're like, wow, where's this movie been all my life? And then we had history repeat itself where I said, you guys need to watch The Whale. And now here we are. So The Whale, for those that don't know, is currently being nominated for an Oscar. Brendan Fraser stars as Charlie. He plays an obese gentleman, English teacher, and he's trying to reconcile with his estranged daughter. Very heart-wrenching story, very emotional. And this is also Brendan Fraser coming back to the big screen. And let's just jump right into it. Gerald, now that you've seen it, do you believe that it deserves all the nominations and the accolades it has?
Absolutely, but it is because of one man, and that man is Brendan Fraser, and that does not take away from what Sadie Sink did, Ty Simpkins as Thomas, or Hung Chau as Liz, because this movie is very much a movie surrounding those 3 to 4 people, right? I mean, it looks like you're getting multiple different plots, multiple different points, but it all turns out that they all kind of intertwine. But that cornerstone of it is Brendan Fraser. And Brendan Fraser as Charlie in this reminds me a lot actually of another part of his, a recent part of his that not many people probably even realize because it is a slow quote unquote nerd shit. He is in Doom Patrol, which is a DC super anti-hero team. And where in that he is a former famous race car driver who died in his race car accident, but his brain was allowed to live in this robot body that he hates so much. And don't mean to go completely off topic, but it kind of reminds me of his character in this, where a guy who once had it all, he had the wife, he had the kid, he had a home, and he had a future. It's all just gone away, and he's in a body he doesn't love, and he feels like nobody can love him or accept him for who he is. So he's become a shutoff. And Brendan again hits all the key notes in this, and it's just one of those things you look at. And Brendan Fraser is a guy who, after The Mummy and after a lot of his early 2000s, late 90s stuff, kind of disappeared. And it's amazing to see someone come back with I don't know if I want to call it a vengeance, but it's just like that vicious acting chops that you don't get to see that often in today's movies that we do get to see a lot.
And I think that ties in with a lot of people just kind of forgetting that, Brendan Fraser was not just the mummy. He wasn't just Looney Tunes back in action. He has acting chops. And if you didn't think so before, now he does sort of come back with a vengeance because it is the role of a lifetime. He does a great job of embodying this character. At the same time, you still remember that it's Brendan Fraser, but he does such a good job in moving as this obese guy. And like Gerald said, his character is someone who had the world and his world was taken from him. And he's in this body that he hates. Quick side note, Gerald, I hope you weren't like me, where I went by myself to the movies and I said, you know what, I'm by myself. I can go get mozzarella sticks and I don't have to share. And while I'm eating this, I remembered what a bad idea it was because this guy's literally eating himself to death. Meanwhile, I'm stuffing myself with mozzarella sticks.
It does seem a little ironic. I was eating dinner while I was watching this. I watched it at
And didn't it
home,
make
so
you
I
just
didn't
want to
get any
spit it
mozzarella
out?
sticks. Thankfully, I finished before we got to the really bad part when he gets off the walls. But I kind of want to talk about the way this movie is the story is told, Ahmed.
Yeah.
And forgive me for stealing your host duties. I don't mean to do that, but it's just what were your thoughts on that? I want to know what your thoughts, because I think you have a very keen eye on certain things like that when it comes to directorial choices, and I want to hear your thoughts on just how the story was told from the perspective of it's being told through a week, and also the perspective that there really was only one setting in this movie.
Well, and part of that is because the movie was based on a play. For those watching it for the first time, not really seeing the trailer, it's very dialogue heavy, and that might throw you off because you're wondering what this story is all about. But as the dialogue progresses, you'll start to really recognize, okay, this is the story, and it kind of just picks up from there. The story does a great job of letting the dialogue speak for itself, and then you're able to put the pieces together. They don't I don't want to say they necessarily hand feed everything to you. They do a good job of leaving some mystery, but then it all does come full circle. And that's really what I took from it. I loved that, it at first kind of makes you remember, you're kind of like, okay, I'm very well aware I'm watching a play or I'm watching a movie, and then without you knowing it, you're sucked into it and you're kind of
Mhm.
in awe of it all.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the way they show his actions and his thoughts, and as everything breaks down around him, you can see it in his face, and it's you see movies or TV shows, right? And you see people having mental breakdowns, whether it be depression, anxiety, panic attacks, whatever it might be, some kind of mental issue where they need help that you just can't give them physically, right? And a lot of the times you see these characters do something rash or quick, and you can't tell that they had a real thought process behind it. It's always the why would you do that and not that? But it's almost like Brendan Fraser had perfectly displayed how someone with those kind of addictions and how those kind of mental problems, and I don't know about you, I don't know how you felt, but like the and spoiler alert, we're 7 minutes into this. If you haven't seen it, go see it. But
Yes.
his binge eating scene, I think it was on Wednesday of the week, so it's a 4 or 5 day week before the end of the movie, but I think it was on Wednesday or Thursday. He goes on a binge eating at night after his daughter just went off on him. Everybody just found out all this stuff and they all hate him. um, but you could see it in his face. He thought about stopping 4 or 5 times. But then you also
Mhm.
saw, and without even saying it, you could see him being like, I don't want this. I don't need this. I'm going to die if I keep doing this. Then you can also see the devil on his shoulder without seeing it. And he looks and he goes, but fuck it. Nobody cares about me anyway. And you
Yeah,
get that exact wording from him throughout the movie, really.
right. He says, "Why would anybody want me in their life?" And not only that, but also Hong Chau's character Stephanie, or I'm sorry, Liz. As the sort of enabler, where on the one hand she hates that he's doing this, but she's not necessarily stopping him either. And
Mhm.
that was just kind of like the crux of it all. This is how people will spiral into depression. On the one hand, you want people to help you, but if it's just one person, that's a whole another burden to take on in and of itself.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that they hid the fact that she was actually his ex boyfriend's sister from us until near the end. That was a big reveal that I felt was very justified. Something that they held on to and they held close to their chest. Um, and I think, with that being said, though, there's not a lot of big reveals in this movie, right? So when you get a big reveal like that, I think they delivered it perfectly. And it's just, I don't know what's wrong with this film. I'm trying to think of ways we can knock it. I'm trying to, because I don't want to give something a Hall of Fame all the time, because I
It,
know we do it all the damn time, especially in Marvel
no,
stuff and Creed, and we just had a clean sweep
yeah.
of Creed. But I'm looking at this film and I'm just like, what went wrong with it? Sadie Sink plays a perfect Stephanie, excuse me, daughter, Ellie. I'm saying Stephanie, Ellie, Liz. I'm saying all the names wrong, but she plays a perfect Ellie to Charlie. But at the same time, she also does kind of play the same character she plays in Stranger Games. um,
Mm.
Angry, upset, kind of the skater punk emo girl type thing, without dressing with the black eyeliner and stuff. So she is kind of using that same attitude, but it is a different character. She cares a hell of a lot less, but you can also tell that she's pushing away, just like almost. I don't know how many women you know who push away the men in their lives because their fathers may have left or their fathers died early or whatever it was, and you could see that in her, and it was very believable. So I guess at the end of the day, what I really want to say is that like if you're looking for a movie that has emotion, that is believable and real in the human sense, and you don't need to rely on CGI, you don't need to rely on out of the world uh, or crazy threats. This movie takes place in Moscow, freaking Idaho, and it feels like it.
Yeah, well, and so I'll be the turn in the punch bowl a little bit.
Okay.
One, Brendan Fraser is clearly not overweight or not obese in the movie. They're using some sort of computer generated technology, and but he does such a good job of moving in that way that you almost believe him. I did think that the character Thomas, played by Ty Simpkins, I thought he was a little bit forced. Um, it just seemed like there were too many reveals at the end that really didn't. I don't know if his character was absolutely necessary. Um, and also the whole him smoking weed sort of thing. I thought that was just kind of weird. But despite all of that, the movie did have that flaw, but I definitely think it deserved its accolades. And I think part of that, as we said before, was because of Charlie. I think all the supporting characters did a great job of helping him carry that, even though he really didn't need the help. The reveals, as they came about, were amazing, but the biggest reveal of them all, and the fact that they saved it for last, that's the only one that I'm not upset about. And that is, again, we're doing full spoilers, so you guys need to. You hopefully, if you're watching this, you've already seen the movie. If you haven't seen the movie, stop recording this right now, or stop watching this right now. Don't stop recording. Stop. Don't. But the big reveal, he's reading this essay, and it was written by his freaking daughter, and this is the thing
Yeah.
that gives him life. And then whenever she says, "Walk to me," that's when he says he can finally die because he knows that he did something right.
Yep. And that's just, and it's crazy because like there's not a lot of times in cinema where you get an actor who hasn't really been in the big thing for a while and gets put into this. It's not a huge budget film. This isn't
No.
the Avengers. This isn't Star Wars. This isn't even the Hunger Games, for crying out loud. This is a, like you said, a movie based on a play. And he got it and he turned it into something I don't think it could have ever been without him, you
Oh
know?
yeah, I because of
And I
because
don't,
of him, I refuse to watch the play.
yeah. And I don't mean to be an asshole, but I'm not sure this movie gets even our small review site attention if it doesn't have someone like Brendan Fraser in the lead role. Um, if it's some no name or small name Netflix actor or someone from Lifetime or HBO, even like a small name person who has never been in the big screen, and Sadie Sink is the side and she's essentially the biggest name, I don't know that this movie gets as much credit or watchability. That does nothing about the writing. The writing is beautiful, the directing is beautiful. I just don't know it gets that much attention. Brendan Fraser killed it. And I will say I disagree with you on the CGI parts only because from what I read, Brendan spent 4 hours a day getting in and out of a fat suit that was completely fat.
Ah.
I'm sure they put some CGI stuff in there with sweat and stuff, or maybe some other things. But from what I read, it was a CGI, not a CGI. It was a real fat suit that he had to put on. He actually
Mm.
mentioned that he gained tons of muscle and in places that he had no idea he had, and gained a new respect for people who do live in bodies like that because it's a lot of work and a lot of effort. Because even whenever you gain that much weight, your bone structure is still there. It is still the same as somebody who weighs 150 or 250. You know what I mean? And another thing I will say about the way he moves, and I'll agree with you, is growing up in the South, as you well know, the South does have obesity issues, and I'm not going to name anybody that I know, but there have been people that I have seen either at or near the weight that he is displayed as, and they do have these issues, and they do think it's hard to walk. You don't know if you can trust the walker or the wheelchair you're about to sit on. Um, I don't know if you realize this, but in some of the scenes, it's almost like a zombie movie where they're building up that suspense. Is his leg going to break because he's standing on it? Is the chair going to break? Is he going to even be able to get up? Is he going to be able to walk without snapping his legs in two? All these little suspense and anxiety ridden things that put you in Brendan and Charlie's head throughout the movie, I think is what made this movie that much better.
So I think in that regard, let's go into. I guess we've already kind of established who our favorite characters are. And there's
Yeah,
not
I
really
think
much to
so.
pick from. So
No,
let's go ahead and skip right to our ratings. What do you say?
I'm going Hall of Fame. I if a movie can make me tear up not once, not twice, but three times, um, it's got me. And if it can make you tear up with, I think, a total of 5 words after spending 10 minutes where a couple's arguing, because let me put it this way, and if you've continued watching and you already got all the freaking spoilers, I'm gonna go without spoiling. And but there is a specific scene where he is arguing with the person in this movie, and at the very end, it's about a 5 minute long scene. At the very end, he says one thing: "I just want to know that I did one thing right with my life." And he
Yep.
screams it. Tears flying out, spit all over his face. Looks like he's been tearing up, snot all over, and he looks disgusting. But I don't know a single person watching this, editing this, talking in this video anywhere who hasn't ever been in a situation like that where you feel like everything you've done has been a fucked up thing and you messed up everything. And for this man on his last day to look at the person he looked at and say it like that, I think you can say it all. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah. I'm not ashamed to say it. I cried like a bitch. I cried on that scene. I cried in so many portions, and at the very end of the movie, I bawled, and I walked out of the movie theater going, "Fucking movie, and fucking movie, fucking
I
Brendan
finished. I
Fraser."
finished watching it. It was going to play Call of Duty, but I couldn't even trash talk people because I was so sad. I was
Yeah,
so sad.
how am I? I was driving, and I'm just like trying to make sure I didn't crash because I was like holding back tears on the way. So, but it doesn't look good if you try to blame Brendan Fraser for your car accident. He's all the way in California, but but
Brendan.
but no, it's true, and that's why I agree with you. It's definitely a Hall of Fame. To go back to something you said earlier, I don't know if I would give it a Hall of Fame if Brendan Fraser wasn't in it. I definitely came to the movie to see Brendan Fraser, and then I stayed to watch it. And I thought before the movie, I said, Brendan Fraser is back. He needs to get as many flowers, as many awards as he can. And after seeing that, not only does he deserve it, he deserves that and more. This is a testament to why he should remain in films. Don't disappear on us, Brendan.
Yeah, Brendan, please don't disappear on us ever again. We love you. Welcome back. And I mean, hell of a job. And I'm not a huge person on awards. I think awards in most industries are kind of self-serving. But in this case, this is the time we throw every award at Brendan fucking Fraser.
Him and Kehei Kwan.
Yes.
Yeah, both of you. Don't go anywhere. I swear.
You guys are allowed in every movie ever.
Well, with that
Everywhere all
being
at once.
everywhere. What a great way to end it. What a great way to end it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that amazing pun, I have been Ahmed, my friend Gerald. Happy birthday to box office quarterbacks. For the college listeners, happy spring break. Be safe. Don't get killed. Don't get kidnapped. And don't do drugs.
Hey, don't add to the population and don't take away from it.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.